Welcome to the DIY Goalie podcast, where hosts and goalie coaches Nathan Park and Connor Monday share their insights on how to become a better goalie. Welcome back, goalies, to the 46th edition of the DIY Goalie podcast. Hopefully, you are doing well today. We have a good episode lined up today. So we teased it last week. Connor had a segment on goalie parents volunteering as goalie coaches. And so today, unless he throws me another curveball, we are planning on hitting that segment. And then we're also going to be talking about what you ideally want to be doing during your playoff push when it comes to development, because the way we approach our game and our development changes a little bit once we get to this time of year and we're starting to get into the final stretch and to playoffs. So how are we doing today, Connor?
I'm good. As of recording this, yesterday I went to the Professional Women's Hockey League takeover game in Edmonton, and that was a really cool experience. And just seeing the Oilers fans or the Edmonton faithful show up for this event and supporting women's hockey here in YEG was a really cool moment. And I sincerely hope that we do get granted a PWHL team. The more hockey in the city, the better, because we already have the Oilers and the Oil Kings amongst many of the other great junior and university college programs that we have here. But something specifically focused for women's hockey, um, can be a huge thing for the city. I mean, Grant McEwen Griffins is like a big one here in Edmonton. Edmonton Pandas, the University of Alberta Pandas, rather, is another one, along with the Junior Oilers White AAA team that plays in the Alberta Female Elite Hockey League. All great programs here, and just to get to witness that, and just get to witness the PWHL firsthand. Technically, in my first ever PWHL game. Hopefully, more to come beyond that. But no, it was a really cool experience, and glad that I got to be a part of that with my brother-in-law.
Yeah, I imagine that it's probably a matter of when, not if, the PWHL kind of comes out this way. It'll just be a matter of, I guess, cost and all that. But
Yeah, I
no,
would
I
not. I
do.
would not. I would not be surprised if Kate's is, because like I think like the Rogers Place was like sold out
Yeah,
basically. I think like the
yeah,
attendance record was like 17,541 specifically. So I would not be surprised if Daryl Cates has probably started to put some motion towards that.
yeah. And I do think it's good. Like, anecdotally, I find that it seems like there's a higher concentration, I guess, of female goalies compared to like when we played, which is good to see. I don't know if it's maybe because I'm more, open to it as a goalie coach. You get to see kind of a broader lens in the area, but I do think the shift is good, and it's good to see some of the ladies out there. I know we have a couple female programs that have taken us on board to do their goalie development, and that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, we may as well dive right into the meat and potatoes today. So why don't you start us off, Connor, and your week-long delayed, I guess, kind of rant that has a week to fester. What do you got for us?
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Where do I start on this? Um so I mean, like, we've talked before about how it would be beneficial, or how in my perfect world that every minor hockey team ever has a goalie coach on staff, whether it be an actual goalie coach that's such as you and I, or a parent led goalie coach. However, with that being said, there are kind of some do's and some don'ts when it comes to um, being a goalie parent and subsequently being a goalie coach on your child's team. I do have to preface this, like I've mentioned in previous episodes, I am not a dad yet, so I could totally be speaking outside of my my abilities here. But
It'll be
I
more
have
from our standpoint as a
yeah,
coach.
exactly. Um, but I do just want to say I don't think I'm going to be coaching my kid in hockey, especially if they do want to be a goalie. I don't know. Like goalie parents are the funniest creatures on the planet. I think, especially when it comes to being as a goalie coach on the team. My dad was my goalie coach throughout the or throughout my entirety of my playing career, and a lot of what I know, much like I learned from Schwartzy, is from what I do with from what I've learned with my dad. Um, so goalie parents, I have found nowadays, especially in some of the teams that we coach with True North goaltending, um, it's they're a lot more hands on, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But I also find in the same breaths that they're pushing their kids a little too hard, and understandably so, because being the parent and on the parent side of things, you want your child to succeed and you want to do whatever you can to help them be the best that they can be. There obviously comes a time, or there comes a line rather, where it is up to you, or up to you as the goalie parent, who is also subsequently being the goalie coach, to kind of draw the line in the sand and know when to flip flop back and forth between being a goalie parent and a goalie coach. Um, the one thing that you never ever want to do as a parent, and David Hutchinson actually laid this out quite well in his article over on In Goal Mag, is that you never want to jeopardize your relationship as a parent with your child, right? Again, we get so invested as parents. You guys will get so invested in your kids' development, and you want to ask your goalie coaches every question that you may have, or you want to nitpick every little thing, and it's understandably so, because at the parent you're only looking out for your child's best interests. But that also is essentially you're pushing too hard on your child to focus and worry about every little individual thing that no actual progress is being done. That's why we as goalie coaches, that we have our set focus when we're out with our students. I think my focus with the U18 goalies that I had, and then the goalie that I had afterwards, was my focus with them was what was it? I think it was quick rotations again. I don't remember. But then the other one was focusing on tracking the puck and proper rebound control, proper recoveries, getting their feet set. I'm not worried about that they didn't get a good seal on the post when they pushed off to come meet me at center ice. I'm not worried about that, because that's not my focus with them right now. It really isn't. And so some parents also aren't very hands on, and that's fine as well. For goalie parents to think that they know best, simply not true. Respectfully, it's not. You may have played a day and age, and that's fine. But there are professionals such as myself and as Nathan, who studied the position, learned the position, and anybody can, and that's great. And I mean, with something like with USA Hockey in their goalie symposium that they had however long ago, the amount of parents that were in that um, sphere, or in that classroom, I'm
Conference.
going to call it conference. Thank you. Was great, and it helps. It always helps to have a goalie parent on staff. You know, again, as much as hey, you're the goalie parent, and you know things, and that's great, and you want to pass on your experience, and that's fine. I don't know why that there's this disconnect between, goalie parents always want to be hands on and involved, and basically want to teach their child their way and how they did things when they played, versus something as like when you're in school, right? The parents are kind of almost not. I don't want to say they're not necessarily there, because I hope that's not the case, but parents aren't as involved in kind of with their child's education, so to speak, saying like, no, I know best, and they're going to learn why X equals 9 or why this way, and then they're not going to learn this. They're not going to learn this new system of math. They're going to learn this old system of math, and screw you and what you say, essentially, and giving that kind of difference of opinion. But versus with goaltending and hockey, it's no, I know what I'm doing. I know best, and you gotta follow and listen to what I say. Um, Again, I go back to David Hutchinson's article there, and I really strongly suggest everybody listen to the segment that he had within goal, and as well as just kind of read the article here. David Hutchinson is probably the best person to really talk about with this, considering his kid right now is playing in the WHL with now the Moose Jaw Warriors, I think, because he got traded from Vancouver. Um, there always has to be that line in the sand. Know when to be a coach and not a parent, because I think if you're trying to be a coach parent, it's just not going to work, because realistically with your kid, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, because they're going to say yeah dad, or yeah mom, or whoever, and it's going in one ear and out the other. And then that's where the frustration essentially sets in. We have one parent on one of our teams who's over eccentric when it comes to his kid and goaltending, and that's great. But again, like we said, just find that we as coaches notice these things. And again, we talked about before not wanting to be a parent cut. Essentially, this kind of also ties into that, um, with parents just being either too involved or
Too vocal.
too vocal. Essentially, thank you. um, so I mean, just I think being involved in your kids' athletic development is great, and I don't want to ever discourage that, because there are some goalie parents that I've met, most recently with our association skate that we do every Monday, um, that are just awesome. They're phenomenal. I love having parents out there. I love having people who are interested in the position and interested in learning about the position, how they can help in developing their child. But there are also some parents that I've met throughout my years that I honestly would say drop your kid off and go somewhere else, because I don't want to hear from you, and I'm certain your kid doesn't want to hear from you either, because you're yapping, and you think that you know best, and you're nitpicking every little thing that they're doing wrong, and you think that it's our job to fix, and which it is to a certain extent, but there's a process that goes along with it. Um, so I guess just know your role as a goalie parent, know your role as a goalie coach, and know when that you need to kind of switch back and forth between the two. That's why I always say it's like, I don't want to be a goalie parent. Or I don't know. I want to be a goalie parent because it'd be awesome. But I don't want to be a goalie coach for my kids' team unless I absolutely have to. Then I will. But otherwise, it's like, no, I will let somebody else take the reins, because I also know that my kid is probably not going to listen to me. It's just going to go in one ear and out the other, because I'm dad at the end of the day. Or if my wife ever plays hockey and she decided to coach her kid in goaltending, it's like, no, she's mom, right? And that's just it. And especially as kids get older as well, and teenagers are angsty, and they say, oh, whatever mom, or whatever dad, and whatever else, right? I mean, Nathan and I have probably done that once a few times, rolled our eyes at mom and dad, but it's just I don't like I said this before, and I'll say it again. Your role as a parent is to be a fan of your child. You're their number one fan, and if you want to be involved in their development, that's great. But you're their number one supporter. The athlete, realistically, and we've said this before in other episodes as well, and I say this with my athletes all the time. They're their number one critic. They don't need mom and dad coming on top of that at the same time. I'll lastly say this, because I think it's also important. The car rides home, because I'll always ask my dad when I played, how do you think I did? Because his opinion mattered to me to a certain degree, and I didn't get the well, you sucked at this and you did that and blah 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 blah, and it was like hour-long speech on the ride home. I'd ask my dad to be like, "Oh, how'd you think I did?" And he probably mentioned one or two things that I did well, one or two things that I didn't do well, and we kind of left it at that, And then that was the stuff for me to work on in practice when Dad and I were working together in practice, or the stuff that I'd be working on with one of my goalie coaches when I played. So there there was never any long essay of what I was good at or wasn't, what I wasn't bad, or what I was bad at after a game. It's just on this goal, maybe you would have liked to have that back, but you also did well on this. This the positives and negatives from it. I would love to have my dad, on the podcast, and maybe Nathan will let me do it. Um, actually, no. Even then, I'll have to talk to you this afterwards, because there was a podcast that I wanted to start, and my first interview actually was my dad. I'll send you the clip and see if you can play it. But um, but yeah, just I think just kind of having father son, that relationship there. It's just, again, you're their number one supporter at the end of the day. They're their number one critic. They know what they need to do well. A little bit of guidance never hurts, but you don't want to be that guy that is pointing out A to Z of everything that's wrong with them.
Yeah, I figured at one point, and we can maybe do it this year, but I figure when we get close to Mother's Day and Father's Day, we could maybe do a goalie moms and a goalie dads episode, and we can get our parents on and grill them with the
Yeah.
hard questions about being goalie parents. But yeah, I to go back to your point of not wanting to coach your kid or be a goalie coach for your kid. I find it funny because we have a former True North instructor, Jordan.
Oh
He
yeah.
made this comment before because his kids are right in the thick of it being goalies, and he's like, it frustrates me because I'll tell them to do XYZ, and they're like, yeah, yeah, okay. And then like a month later they go out with another coach who tells them the exact same thing I told them, and they're like, Dad, I
Yeah.
learned this game-changing thing today. And he's like, I've been telling you that the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. So Connor and I are just gonna do swapsies. I'm just gonna go to all his kids' practices and games, and he's gonna come to mine. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
but yeah, no, a couple of things that I wanted to kind of touch on here, I guess, because yeah, we've seen both sides of the coin. Like we are totally on board with coaches coming out to our sessions, or sorry, parents coming out to our sessions and coming on the ice so they can learn kind of the things we're telling their kids, and then they might have that information, that voice for when we're not there at
Mhm.
practices, and totally all for that. And I think everybody listening at this point probably knows that we're kind of on board with people getting more information about the position regardless of how that happens, because I think that's the biggest change we need for goalie development is more people to know about the position. So I do encourage you guys to get that information if you can. If you guys have a goalie coach come out with your kids, don't be afraid to ask if they're okay with you coming out and just learning. I think pretty much everybody in the goalie community will be okay with that, but make sure you just kind of sit in the background, listen, help out if you need for a shot or a passing drill or whatever, and just let it happen, right? Like Connor said, we've worked with some parents who really get involved. They're trying to tell their kids something after we've just told them something. They're trying to push them hard, hard, hard. And a lot of times when it comes to our goalie sessions, like, yes, we get them to battle it out, and we obviously want them putting in the effort and pushing, but a lot of times the goalie sessions are a little slower paced than your normal practices, your normal games, because we really want to focus on the technique, and then we get faster. And the other thing I want all you parents out there to understand is this whole thing with goaltending is a process. I would love to tell you that we could go out for an hour-long session and fix all your kids' problems in terms of, what they're struggling with in the net. But realistically, we can't. We probably spend an hour just undoing one bad habit that they've built in the 2 weeks since we last saw them. And by the time we see them 2 weeks from now, that habit's going to creep back in and we're going to kind of be working on it again. Right. So understand that it's a long process, have the patience there, and just trust the process, trust the professionals, and let us kind of work our progression. Because we had a goalie dad with one of our instructors. She was working with them, kind of talking to them, teaching them. And the dad was out there on the ice and said, they shouldn't be standing around. They're standing around too much. They need shots, and took his kid and went down to the other end with the team to just get shots as opposed to the actual instruction. And it's like, that's not helpful. Like, we all know in the goalie community, more shots is not necessarily the way to develop a goalie. Most of the time, it hinders them, it creates bad habits and all that stuff. So, giving up the one on one or one on two goalie instruction to just pull your kid over for more shots, to me, is kind of ridiculous. But let the professionals do their job, be supportive, listen and take in some information, but just take a step back, enjoy the process, just watch them develop, you know, see their progression, be proud of that. Yes, you can dive in every now and then with your thoughts, but we don't want to
Mhm.
get too over analytical, like we've talked about before. And then just to build off of your thing with like the car rides home. So, what I used to do with my dad back in the day was, on the car ride home, I asked him one thing that I could improve on and one thing that I did well. That was basically, I'd ask him those two questions, and that was kind of really all we talked about for the game. So obviously, find out what works for you guys. That's kind of what we did, kept it nice and simple. But yeah, I think Connor summed it up when it's be a fan of your kid and, trust the professionals to kind of do their job, and do what you can to learn about the position, but, you know, enjoy
Yeah.
your role as a goalie parent and watching your kid grow.
Yeah. I don't like, and it's not to say that if you want to be a goalie coach such as Nathan and myself, that's like we're trying to discourage people from doing that, because
Yeah.
that's not the case. Again, my whole thing is just like, if you're going to be the goalie coach of your child's team, you need to recognize that your child may not always listen to you because you are mom or because you are dad, even on and off the ice. Okay. Your child may not recognize that you're trying to help, because all they think that you're just doing is nagging and getting on their case and whatever else. But it, it's and it may not be the case, and that's fine. But again, I think that recognition is there. Going back to Hutchinson's article one more time here, and I'll stop pumping his tires for the day. Um, this quote here I really like, and I hope it resonates, is that your role as a goalie coach, as a parent goalie coach, might last a few years, but your role as a parent lasts a lifetime. So take that as you will. Again, because your role as a goalie coach on your son's or daughter's team could be 3 to 4 years. That's kind of the half life of it, right? Because as they progress in levels, then they start dealing with people such as myself and Nathan, and then but you're the parent, and so that's where you take the back seat and you let us do what we're going to do. If you want to be part in that and shadow myself and Nathan, or whoever it is that whoever it is that your son or daughter is working with, great. But again, you are you are mom, you are dad, you are their supporter, and that is your role on the team, essentially. Our role is to teach the kid, your kid's role is to be the athlete and to play the games. Your role is just to be there and support them. So hopefully, hopefully that resonates, and yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, we can transition to talking about playoffs. You're talking about playoffs? um, so yeah, we're getting close to that time of year. Some of you guys might already be in this time of year, but we're getting up close to the end of the season, close to the playoff push, and even the last stretch drive towards playoffs. So some of you guys might be fighting for a position. Um, Basically, I wanted to talk about the change in our approach once we get into this time of year, because it's not the same as the start of the year or the off season, the middle of the year, right? Like basically the off season is where we try and build up our strength and all of that stuff. You know, the start of the season is when we kind of reinforce our foundation, and then the middle of the season is when we really kind of hone in on the technical side of things. But gearing to the end of the season, it's almost like we kind of hit the reset button and almost like we're starting the new season again. Because the biggest success that you're going to have is basically just maintenance. That's kind of the word that we want to use when we're approaching our development in playoffs is maintenance. So we want to hammer home save execution, tracking, skating, like all of the basic fundamentals. We just want to make sure that those are dialed in. So we're not learning new techniques. We're not trying to, you know, really practice the stuff that, you know, we might be struggling with. That's kind of something we focus on for the off season and going into the next season. We basically just want to maintain. We want to set a really good foundation, set a consistent bar, and basically just keep it simple. Because if we throw in a lot of extra stuff, that can really throw us for a loop when it comes to actually playing the playoff games. So we don't want to be experimenting, right? We're not trying to see, okay, do I want to overlap here? Do I want to RVH here? Do I want to VH here? Blah, 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 whatever. We're not really experimenting with that stuff. We kind of just trust where we are and we hammer home the fundamentals. We also want to make sure that we're having a good approach in terms of off the ice and our mindset and all of that stuff going into the games. We don't really want to be like, now's the time, I guess, if you are in a playoff push, to focus in and kind of take however long, if it's a month, if it's a couple weeks, if it's a weekend, if you guys have like a tournament style playoff, you want to make that small amount of time dedicated to your game. So when you're off the ice, right, you're treating yourself well, you're drinking a lot of water, you're eating well, you're sleeping well, and then you're getting yourself in the right mindset. So you're thinking about, you know, visualizing, you're thinking about whatever it is you need to do, the positive self talk, all of this stuff that we've kind of talked about. This is, I guess, now the time to bring it all together and make hockey, I guess, kind of that number one focus. Obviously, extenuating circumstances aside, like obviously, if you've got something else that comes up and that's going on super important in life, yes, that's number one. But aside from that, this is the time to just go all in, focus on, you know, what you need to do on the ice, take whatever that amount of time is and just dedicate it to hockey and make sure we keep it simple. We don't want to be over analyzing. Video, we've talked about, and we even talked about it last week, is a great tool to kind of get a general 10,000 foot overview. Okay, maybe I can make a couple tweaks going into next game, but other than that, that's it. We're moving on, right? It's a different animal come this time of year. I know when I played junior, it was almost like it just kind of became like robotic when you're in playoffs, right? It's like, okay, I'm up, I have my breakfast, I do some stretches, go have a nap. Okay, I'm up, I have my pregame meal, go to the rink, get in the right mindset, do your stretches, play your game, go home, stretch again, right? Have a good post game meal, get a good sleep, and repeat next day, right? And it almost becomes just like, you know, a procedure. You have step one, two, three, four, and rinse and repeat, right? So it's a different animal, it's a different ballpark. But the other thing I want to say too is just have fun with it. We don't need to be, we talked about fear setting a couple of weeks ago. Like it's nothing we need to be scared of. It's nothing we need to be nervous for. It's just another game. Life goes on, whatever happens. Do what you need to do to get in the right mindset, maintain that foundation, have some fun with it, and take it seriously for your amount of time that you're in playoffs, and hopefully you guys come home with a championship.
I never have. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, nothing changes around this time, right? Just like Nathan had said, it just you're reinforcing at this point the the fundamentals, and you're not necessarily implementing anything new into your game, or um, trying out any different techniques or breathing habits or whatever it is. You're just doing what you've always done, and not trying not to think about, rather, that the fact that it is, excuse me, championship time, playoff time, whatever else, and you're focusing just on being in the now, and in the moment. Again, going back to, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, and I got to bring up Stuart Skinner again, and by extension Sergei Bobrovsky as well. um, when Stewart had to kind of go out for a few games in that Vancouver series, he was just taking that time just to reset, right? Because he wasn't playing as well as he normally was, um, and so he was just getting shaken up and getting rattled a lot because Vancouver fans are jerks. But anyways, um, it's it's just something like that. I mean, like, again, you were saying as well that Bobrovsky's goalie coach had told him not even to suit up, or not even to skate, or not even to be at the rink for a couple of days or whatever. Just go for a walk, just go take some time for yourself, and then come back, and then get back to whatever it is that you were doing. Just kind of have a new mindset, if you will. So, I mean, there's like, everybody wants to hype up playoffs, and that's fine, but that's more so for the fans, and for the, I don't want to say coaching staffs, but it's for the people who aren't the athletes. It's for the people who aren't playing the game, that everybody wants to get hyped up around it. For us as the athlete, it's just it's same. It's just business as usual, essentially, right? Nothing changes. The routine stays the same. Training stays the same. Everything of the sort. Maybe you push a little bit harder than you normally would, but everything realistically stays the same at the end of the day. You keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you know is working. We don't change anything, if you want to talk about superstitions. Um, and you go out there and you play the game, and hopefully you come away with the championship at the end of it, right? It's just playoffs. Realistically, it's just another day at the office for us.
Nice and even keel. That's
Yeah,
a good way to put it. Yeah.
yeah.
um yeah, there's the one thing that I kind of wanted to mention too, is just that when you guys are in it, and I know I kind of mentioned it earlier, like having fun, but at the same point too, like take the time to appreciate the ride as well. Like as someone who has won two championships when in my junior career, um, it's a grind, but it's a lot of fun, and it's something that if you guys do get to the point of hitting that milestone and winning a championship, there's a lot of people out there that don't get that opportunity, right? Regardless of what level you play, whether it's beer league, whether it's your U11 minor hockey, whether you are playing junior or college or anything like that, right? One thing I will say, like when I played junior in college, when you're in playoffs, practices were probably the best that they ever were for goalies, because your game day skate or your pregame skate as a playoff team is so light, and like just like a 20-minute you know block of a couple flow drills where guys are shooting from far away and like it's spaced out. Oh, it's so nice as a goalie. It's probably the nicest time of year. But you know, it's the things like that. Like you can just take a step back and enjoy it. Like there's a nice feeling about going to the rink and only being on the ice for a 20-minute, pregame skate and getting off, or, being able to, have a bit of a lighter schedule with practices and just focusing on games, because everybody loves to play games, right? And usually come playoff time, your game schedule is a lot heavier than it normally is, right? So enjoy the ride. If you guys do go all the way and win a championship, really relish it, because it might be the only one you get. You never know, right? It's one of those things that, and I've said it before on the podcast, but I wish I kind of appreciated my hockey career a little bit more while it was happening. And so take advice from an old washed up former goalie, now turned goalie coach, and take the time to take your little wins along the way. And if you guys do accomplish something, own it, take pride in it, and enjoy it, appreciate it. That's really all I got on the playoff side of things. If you guys are right around the corner from it, good luck to all of you out there. And trust yourselves. You guys know what to do. You've done it all year long. Get back to your basics. Go in with some confidence. Go in with some swagger. Keep an even keel. Go have fun. Win some hockey games.
And then tag us online at YAG Goalie Coach and at the DIY Goalie Coach.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to get to see some of your guys' accomplishments out there. If see who's winning the championships and
Yeah,
putting in the work.
playoffs and tournaments and everything of the sort. So
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
fun time of year.
it is.
Definitely what we all play for. So
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, a little bit of a shorter one today, and I think that's okay. As the season's winding down, so are we a little bit,
yeah.
but we got to make it to 50
Straight to the
episodes first.
point,
So,
and no other rants and raves that you guys are probably sick of at this
and no
point. So
other, and barely any other technical difficulties today. Quite proud of
yeah.
ourselves today. So,
Or bloopers.
look, yeah, really, look at
High
us go,
fives.
being professionals, being professionals. Yeah. So I mean, even though it was a shorter episode today, hopefully everybody did kind of take something away from it. Um, both on just kind of the behind the scenes side of things, and as well as once you get into playoffs or tournaments, really, because this mentality applies to tournament stuff as well, right? And minor hockey and all that. So hopefully people take something away from that there. But Nathan, as always, it's been a pleasure being on the pod here today. I do have some things that I would like to get done when it comes to this. I've been reaching out to a couple of people, so hopefully we'll hear back soon. But yeah. Anyways, if you
The
guys are listening,
suspense.
I know, right? Dun dun dun. We need that sound effect. I don't know if you kept any of the sound effects in the editing from the last one, but
I did a couple.
you did a couple. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys are listening on the podcast side of things, first off, if you are a returning listener, thank you very much. If you are a new listener to on your favorite podcasting platforms, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, etc., make sure you hit that follow button and that share button. It takes a couple moments of your time, really helps the algorithm and kind of has us being another resource when it comes to goalie content and kind of goalie resourcing in the goalie union. If you are watching over on the YouTube side of things, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for your watch. If this is the first video that you're watching for the first time, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and again, share with all your friends on your favorite social media platforms. Again, this really helps us get out there as well. And again, just being another resource in the goalie community. If you are following on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, etc., like Nathan had said, I think in the last podcast, we do have some things happening that we won't get into, but there is just some changes that will be coming at some point. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know, Snapchat. I don't know. We're not on Snapchat, but anyways.
No.
If you are traveling to the Edmonton area and would like to train with myself or Nathan or any of our amazing staff members that we have, make sure you head over to truenorthgoaltending.com. Book a session with us at our synthetic ice facility. We also do have some good promotions happening right there as well. You can check all that out at True North Goaltending as well. Spots for summer camps I think are still active right now. So go jump on that. I got nothing else. You can follow me on Instagram at MondayGC. But beyond that, Nathan, anything?
No, I think we're pretty good. And I think, on the next episode, we'll probably announce some of the changes that will be coming down the pipeline kind of in the off season. So stay tuned for that. A little bit of a teaser for that. But we'll talk about that another time. So
perfect. All right. Make some saves, goalies. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.